Pristine Capital is traded on the main board of the London Stock Exchange. It's focused on the commercial real estate sector and to find out how the new Labour government's autumn budget will impact their business and the broader market. I'm delighted to be joined by Executive Chairman Neil Sinclair. So Neil, to set the wider picture, we were pre-warned that this was going to be a budget of tough decisions. Do you agree? And does it do as Rachel Reeves promises and restore financial stability?
Well, I think, first of all, we're delighted that we've had the budget. It's been like death by a thousand cuts, really. But as a question of restoring the public finances, my view there is that the one thing we have to watch on public finances are interest rates. So we have an issue with a heavy debt load with the UK government. And it's no secret, in the last couple of weeks, gilt yields have risen by probably about 0.5%. And in consequence, that means debt interest paid by the UK government is going to be higher. So my only concern about the public finances, yes, they've announced all these measures which are going to raise £40 billion, but my main concern is whether the money markets accept it and interest rates are stabilised or even reduce. That's my only concern about it. But even if whatever they are, the real estate market always adapts. So, we go with the flow, as they say.
Understood. So let's get away from the concerns and let's look at the opportunities for you in particular, because the Chancellor discussed local growth plans with the government talking to devolved administrations and their mayors. So will your business model in its current form have a part to play, because Pristine will be operating in municipalities outside of London?
So I've always been a fan of the regions. Always, because I think the opportunities are there. We've had the budget. The good thing is they're putting monies particularly into local transport. One of the problems in the regions has been transport, but they're putting money into that, and that's always very good for us. So I think the people there will feel the government is on their side at long last, and it's positive for us. So I'm encouraged, actually, by what they're doing, particularly in the regions.
So there's positive sentiment there. And, you and I have only had a few hours to digest the detail in the autumn budget. At this stage of your understanding, how will the commercial property sector be impacted by Rachel Reeves' decisions? And will that impact be felt immediately?
Well, the commercial property sector, of course, is industrial, logistics, it's retail, it's offices, it's leisure. That's the commercial property market. And we have to consider these implications very carefully. My own view, right, is that one of the issues we have to watch very carefully is you cannot hide the fact that they've hiked national insurance, right, for employers. We can't hide it. It's been done. And that's going to affect operators of retail, operators of leisure, and office occupiers and industrial. They're all going to be hit, whatever the case may be, right? So we have to bear that in mind. We have to watch interest rates as well, right? But the situation is most of this was expected. It's not like it's been a secret. In the last few weeks, we all pretty well knew that, for example, NI might have gone up by 2%. And suddenly it's gone up 1.2, and there's a relief all round. But in fact, it's still gone up 1.2, whichever way you look at it. So I think what we're going to find in the commercial property sector, we're going to be okay. My view is we're going to be okay. But I think a lot of employers must be thinking, can they operate with fewer people? Because all these costs, they've got to come from somewhere. So you either increase your prices, and sometimes you can't do that. So what do? You work with fewer people. I've done that in my own businesses before, and that's what you have to do. And they talk about growth, and we all want growth, but I think what we have to be very careful of, particularly on these workers' rights, right, is that going to impact the number of people that companies employ. No one knows yet.
Okay. So that's an intangible at this point. Again, it's
It's
sentiment.
intangible, but I heard all the budget, and I'm still very confident going forward.
What Rachel Reeves also increased was capital gains tax increases to 18% on the lower rate and 24% on the higher. This, of course, referring to the tax charged on profits which are made from selling assets such as second homes or investments, including shares, including equities. So could these measures impact your business, Pristine Capital?
Not really. I mean, to be honest, with the incoming Labour government, I thought that capital gains tax would go to over 30%. I thought it would. But I think she's listened to her own advisors that have told her that putting up capital gains tax at too high a level might mean she collects less money because people don't sell. You only collect the money if people sell. And if you've got a disincentive to sell, then she doesn't get any money. So therefore, she has to balance it. So I think the rise to 24 is lower than I anticipated. So in my view, I'm okay with it. On the lower rate, that's particularly for entrepreneurs who found their businesses and all the rest of it, and their rate is 10%. That's gone up higher than I would have thought, but I don't think it's going to impact us within the property world, really.
Okay, two more questions, if I may, please, Neil, because additionally, there were measures impacting the fund management industry with the increase of capital gains tax rates on carried interest, rising from 28% to 32% from next April 2025. What's your view about how this could impact the capital markets?
I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be limited. It's gone from 28 to 32. If it's gone to 28 to 38, been a different story. But I think 28 to 32, I think she's played to the gallery, really. She probably didn't want to put it up at all. But she probably took the view, well, I can't do that with my Labour supporters. So she's put it up a bit. And I think no one can really moan about it. Not my view.
Okay, but you aren't a moaner. You're a glass half full type of
Yeah,
guy, Neil.
yeah. Some of the things she's done, I think she's listened, and I think that was quite important.
Right, let's come back to Pristine Capital. Will the budget impact your company's ambitions to buy a portfolio or a company with assets valued between 30 to 50 million pounds? And will it impact the timelines that you wish to do this?
I don't think so, because we're talking to two particular companies at the moment that are considering selling their companies and selling their shares. So CGT would have been 20%. It's now going to be 24%. Are they not going to sell because it's 24 rather than 20? Very unlikely. I don't think there's going to. If it was 30, they may think twice, right? So one, I don't think it'll have any effect. The good thing about being listed, which a private company can't do, is I can pay people for their shares with my shares. So not necessarily cash. So they don't crystallize their gain. The gain is rolled over. So they then have shares in Pristine, and they'll only pay tax when they sell the shares in Pristine. So from my point of view, I think unaffected.
Okay, so taking all of this into consideration, what we've just discussed over the past 10 minutes or so, how are you feeling generally about Rachel Reeves' maiden budget? And how do you feel about the political landscape now in terms of how it impacts investment?
So they've been talking about investment. I think one of the problems is that she's talking about public investment, a lot of it. And my experience is public investment never really makes much money. It's the private sector that creates the wealth and creates the growth. and they have to provide the tools to allow them to do that. It's not the public sector. It's never done it, and it's not going to happen now. So I don't think so. But I'm confident going forward. They know what they want to do. There's some of the things they would like to do are not quite achievable. They're talking about building 1.5 million houses in 5 years. I'm in this business. I know how long these things take. To do that in 5 years with the current level is going to be incredibly difficult. We are very short of bricklayers, the craftsmen, the plumbers, electricians. We're short of those people. So, and the issue is, yes, you want to get building again, but you've got to have the people to do it. And of course, a few years ago with Brexit and everything else, for example, we had a lot of Polish people here in the construction industry. Well, they've gone home and they're in Poland. And Poland is a very fast growing economy, right? So we have got a skills issue. So it's whether we can deliver on that, right? It remains to be seen.
Many thanks. Neil Sinclair, Executive Chairman of Pristine Capital. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All the best.